All right, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever time it is, wherever in the world it is that you are. Welcome once more to another live stream of Alexandra Mayers Live. And today we will continue with the page by page reading and commentary of the modern English version of the Bible. We've learned a lot so far, haven't we? I was really amazed when it came to the intricacies and the details presented within the book of Genesis. I'm really glad that I've had the opportunity in my life to go through the book of Genesis, and now we're in the book of Exodus. But look at all the lessons that we've learned. And most of these lessons in the Bible um, r- truly revolve around the dynamics within families, within communities. And what a timely message that is for today. I mean, a lot of people say that we're in a post pandemic world, but from my perspective, we're still in the trauma of the pandemic, at least within the United States. We haven't gone back to how things were before. A lot of people's relationships have substantially shifted. How we form relationships has changed tremendously. I think a lot more people are open to creating solid bonds through online connections than ever before. That's not something I'm particularly open to due to having been severely burnt by many people. Oh my gosh. But I don't discount online connections resulting in true solid relationships between people. I think that some people are able to accomplish such relationships, and to them I say congratulations. But today we're going to go through the book of Exodus, which is the warning of the final plague. So we're in dark times right now within Egypt. Moses has returned. He was a Hebrew child who was raised by Egyptian royalty, the daughter of the Pharaoh at the time when he was found floating in a river in a basket. His mother sent him away from her people because she didn't want him to be killed. At that time, the Pharaoh knew that an adversary to Egypt was coming. It was Moses. So he was killing all the newborn male children of the Hebrews, and that was a horrific time. But what did he get? Goes to show karma is real, whether you believe in the Bible or not. The one child that he missed turned out to be his downfall. So now you got Moses and his right hand man, Aaron, terrorizing Egypt with these plagues, this divine intervention that's come through Moses and his staff or his rod. So let's go ahead and continue, and I will provide my commentary as I see fit. Warning of the final plague. Now the Lord said to Moses, I will still bring one plague more upon Pharaoh and upon Egypt. Afterwards, he will let you go from here. When he lets you go, he shall surely thrust you out from here altogether. Speak now in the hearing of the people, and let every man borrow of his neighbor, and every woman of her neighbor, articles of silver and articles of gold. Then the Lord gave the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians. Moreover, the man Moses was very great in the land of Egypt, in the sight of Pharaoh's servants, and in the sight of the people. Moses said, Thus says the Lord, about midnight I will go out into the midst of Egypt, and all the firstborn in the land of Egypt shall die, from the firstborn of Pharaoh who sits on his throne, even to the firstborn of the maidservant that is behind the mill, as well as all the firstborn of beasts. Then there shall be a great cry throughout all the land of Egypt, such as there has never been, nor shall ever be again. Oh, and how dark is that? The firstborn of every family was now set to die within the land of Egypt, within the Egyptian society. But it's kind of karma. What goes around comes around. Don't forget that at the time of Moses' birth, the Pharaoh of Egypt was having all the Hebrew baby males killed. Yeah, I just preheated my oven. That's what that beep was. But seriously, you know, the Pharaoh should have known when he put out that order that that was not going to fly. And not even, even if he didn't believe in the Hebrew God, he had his own gods. And you just would have thought that despite the theological system of Egypt, you would have some sort of understanding that you can't run around doing that. But then again, he would have viewed the Hebrews, who were the slave caste of the society, as essentially property, no more than livestock. So he thought it was okay. But it wasn't okay. And now the Egyptians are going to reap what they sowed. Mm. But against any of the children of Israel, a dog will not even move his tongue, against man or beast, in order that you may know how that the Lord distinguishes between Egypt and Israel. Then all these your servants shall come down to me and bow themselves to me, saying, Get out, and all the people who follow you. After that I will go out. And he went out from Pharaoh in great anger. Then the Lord said to Moses, Pharaoh shall not listen to you, so that my wonders may be multiplied in the land of Egypt. So Moses and Aaron did all these wonders before Pharaoh, and the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart, and he would not let the children of Israel go out of his land. Let's go ahead and go into Exodus 12, since Exodus 11 was fairly short, because I do want to get into the deaths of all these firstborn children. Gosh. The Passover instituted. Now, the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, This month shall be the beginning of months to you. It shall be the first month of the year to you. Speak to all the congregation of Israel, saying, On the 10th day of this month, every man shall take a lamb, according to the house of their fathers, a lamb for a household. And if the household be too little for the lamb, let him and his neighbor next to his house take it, according to the number of persons, according to what each man shall eat. Divide the lamb. Your lamb shall be without blemish, a male of the first year. You shall take it out from the sheep or from the goats. You shall keep it up until the 14th day of the same month. And then the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it in the evening. They shall take some of the blood and put it on the two side posts of the upper doorposts of the houses in which they shall eat it. They shall eat the flesh on that night, roasted with fire, and they shall eat it with unleavened bread and bitter herbs. Do not eat it raw, nor boiled at all with water, but roasted with fire, its head with its legs and its entrails. And you shall let nothing of it remain until the morning. But that of it which remains until the morning you shall burn with fire. In this way you shall eat it, with your waist girded, your sandals on your feet, and your staff in your hand. So you shall eat it in haste. It is the Lord's Passover. All right, so Exodus 12 is all about Passover, gives you instructions as to how to cook the meal. Sounds delicious. God is quite the culinary master. So let's continue. For I will pass through the land of Egypt this night, and will smite all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast, and against all the gods of Egypt I will execute judgment. I am the Lord. The blood shall be to you for a sign on the house where you are. And when I see the blood, I will pass over you. Get it? Passover. If you got the right blood on the post outside your house, God's not going to kill your kids. And the plague shall not be upon you to destroy you when I smite the land of Egypt. So we're back to angry God. It's been that way since Pharaoh wouldn't let the people go. Yeah. This day shall be a memorial to you, and you shall keep it as a feast to the Lord. Throughout your generations you shall keep it a feast by an eternal ordinance. 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread. On the first day you shall put away leaven out of your houses. For whoever eats leavened bread from the first day until the 7th day, that person shall be cut off from Israel. On the first day there shall be a holy convocation, and on the 7th day there shall be a holy convocation for you. No manner of work shall be done on them, but that which every man must eat, that only may be prepared for you. Okay, so here are the rules. You have to follow the rules. You shall observe the feast of unleavened bread, for on this very day I brought your armies out of the land of Egypt. Therefore you shall observe this day throughout your generations as an ordinance forever. All right, so God is creating tradition within the people of Hebrew. He's creating ritual, tradition, religion. That's what all this is. Something to create as a foundation for the social structure of the society, to where that social structure can move forward in a positive, productive, and healthy way. That really seems to be what God has been trying to do all along since the days of Genesis. Create rules that don't just have to do with politics or legalities, not just with you know trying to control people, but to keep them healthy. I mean, let's look at that whole thing revolving around the circumcision. That's a controversial thing, but instilling the circumcision within the males probably substantially cut down on disease, not just within males, but within females. Probably did. This whole thing with how to prepare the food. Um, we're really looking at the beginning of the element of kosher food. And a lot of times a kosher diet is a lot healthier than just running around eating just about everything or anything. So God's doing a pretty good job with trying to create a sect of humanity that's going to survive, because these were quite tumultuous times. But let's continue. Let's see, where did I leave off? In the first month, on the 14th day of the month at evening, you shall eat unleavened bread until the 21st day of the month at evening. 7 days shall there be no leaven found in your houses. For whoever eats that which is leavened, that person shall be cut off from the congregation of Israel, whether he be a stranger or born in the land. You shall eat nothing leavened in all your dwellings. You shall eat unleavened bread. And I bet a lot of people don't know the difference between leavened and unleavened bread. So let me just very quickly refer to google.com and find a good definition so that those of you listening understand the difference. Okay. All right. Leavened versus unleavened bread. That's what I just Google searched. We can broadly categorize bread into two types, leavened and unleavened. Leavened breads contain a small amount of yeast or another leavening agent, while unleavened breads do not. This results in leavened breads being slightly puffier and less dense than unleavened bread. All right, so yeast. Yeast is the key component here. Um, for some reason, God did not want these people to imbibe yeast around that time. All right. This day shall be in you should keep the feast of the Lord. Okay, pass on. Sorry, I lost my place. Where were we? It is the Lord's Passover. Okay, here we are. For I will pass through the land of Egypt this night, and will smite all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast, and against all the gods of Egypt I will execute judgment. I am the Lord. The blood shall be to you for a sign on houses where you are, and when I see the blood I will pass over you, and the plague shall not be upon you to destroy you when I smite the land of Egypt. I feel like I already read that part. All right, where's the fire? Here's the herbs. Let's see. Okay, here we are. Here we are. I'll just keep reading from where I just left off. This shall be a memorial to you, and you shall keep it as a feast of the Lord. Throughout your generations you shall keep it a feast by an eternal ordinance. 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread, and on the first day you shall put away leaven out of your houses. For whoever eats leavened bread from the first day until the seventh day, that person shall be cut off from Israel. So, okay, this is where we left off. And again, it all has to do with the yeast. There doesn't need to be any leavening agents in the bread. Very, very important. On the first day, that there shall be a holy convocation, and on the seventh day there shall be a holy convocation for you. No manner of work shall be done on them, but which every man must eat, that only that may that only may be prepared for you. You shall observe the feast of unleavened bread, for on this very day I brought your armies out of the land of Egypt. Therefore you shall observe this day throughout your generations as an ordinance forever. In the first month, on the 14th day of the month, at evening you shall eat unleavened bread until the 21st day of the month at evening. 7 days shall be no leaven found in your houses. For whoever eats that which is leavened, that person shall be cut off from the congregation of Israel. Whether he be a stranger or born in the land, you shall eat nothing leavened. In all your dwellings you shall eat unleavened bread. Then Moses called out for the elders of Israel and said to them, draw out and take for yourselves a lamb according to your families, and kill the Passover lamb. You shall take a bunch of hyssop and dip it in blood that is in the basin, and apply the lintel and the two side posts with the blood that is in the basin. In other words, they got to brush the blood on their door. That's important. For the Lord will pass through to kill the Egyptians. And when he sees the blood upon the lintel and on the two side posts, the Lord will pass over the door and will not permit the destroyer to come to your houses to kill you. And you shall observe this thing as an ordinance to you and to your sons forever. When you enter the land which the Lord will give you, according as he has promised, you shall observe this service. And when your children shall say to you, what does this service mean to you? You shall say, it is the sacrifice of the Lord's Passover, who passed over the houses of the children of Israel in Egypt, when he smote the Egyptians and delivered our households. And the people bowed down and worshipped. Then the children of Israel went and did so, just as the Lord had commanded Moses and Aaron. So they did. All right, so the blood of this lamb, this special designated lamb, it's a special lamb that they have to select from the herds. the first male lamb within 1 year. It needs to be less than 1 year old. They kill that lamb, take the blood, mark their homes, and they won't be affected by this destroyer coming, the angel of death, essentially. All right, the 10th plague, death of the firstborn. At midnight, the Lord smote all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn of Pharaoh that sat on his throne to the firstborn of the captive who was in the dungeon, and all the firstborn of livestock. Interesting. Interesting. The firstborn of livestock, too. Well, you know what? This particular plague would definitely teach the Pharaoh a lesson that in the eyes of God, all people are equal. Wow. Because keep in mind, I hadn't even read this in advance, but keep in mind the Pharaoh, when he was killing all the firstborn, or all the male children, that's what it was, all the male children of the Hebrews, he didn't think twice about it, because he was trying to protect himself, and he thought to himself, hey, it's been prophesied that there's going to be a Hebrew male who destroys me, so I'm going to destroy all of them first. Ha ha ha. That was his thinking. And that one Hebrew male that his daughter adopted turned out to be his downfall. But he thought it was okay to kill all those babies because he viewed them as below him and below his people and below even the animals in his society. He viewed the slaves as essentially livestock. So God looked at this situation and was like, you know what? I'm not just going to kill the firstborns of the humans in your kingdom. I'm going for the firstborn of the livestock too, just to send you a message, Pharaoh, just to send you a certain message that essentially your child to me is no different than the firstborn cow in your um in your ranches or your farms or on your farms. Wow. That's quite the message. Very intense. Pharaoh rose up in the night, he and all his servants, and all the Egyptians there. And there was a great cry in Egypt, for there was not a house where there was not someone dead. Mm. And that would make that whole society incredibly upset. And yes, that society would look at Pharaoh and blame him. They would be like, this is all your fault, Pharaoh. Why didn't you just let the people go around plague number 3? That's what they would have been saying. The Exodus. Then he called out for Moses and Aaron at night and said, rise up and get out from among my people, both you and the children of Israel, and go serve the Lord, as you have said. Also take your flocks and your herds, as you have said, and be gone, and bless me also. The Egyptians urged the people so that they might send them out of the land in haste, for they said, we will all be dead. So the people took their dough before it was leavened, with their kneading troughs, being bound up in their clothes on their shoulders. Now the children of Israel did according to the word of Moses, and they requested of the Egyptians articles of silver and articles of gold and clothing. And the Lord gave the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians, so that they gave them what they requested. Thus they plundered the Egyptians. Wow. So not only did God take every Egyptian's most prized belonging, essentially their firstborn child, but he's also letting the Egyptians have their material wealth as they get on their journey. The Pharaoh has finally said, all right, go ahead, get lost, go away. Took all that. 10 plagues. Then the children of Israel journeyed from Ramses to Succoth, about 600,000 men on foot, besides children. A mixed multitude also went up with them, along with flocks and herds, a large amount of livestock. They baked unleavened cakes of the dough, which they brought forth out of Egypt, for it was not leavened, because they were driven out of Egypt and could not linger, nor had they prepared for themselves any food. So it's a good thing they had all that dough. Look at that. God thought in advance. Now the journeying of the people of Israel who lived in Egypt was 430 years. And at the end of the 430 years, on the very day, all the host of the Lord went out from the land of Egypt. It is a night to be observed to the Lord for bringing them out from the land of Egypt. This is that night for the Lord to be observed by all the children of Israel in their generations. The ordinance of Passover. So the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, "This is the ordinance of Passover. No foreigner may eat of it, but every man's servant bought with money, when you have circumcised him, may eat it. A foreigner or a hired servant shall not eat it. In one house shall it be eaten. You shall not carry any of the flesh outside the house, nor shall you break a bone of it. All the congregation of Israel shall keep it. Now when a stranger journeys with you and keeps the Passover to the Lord, let all his males be circumcised, and then let him come near and keep it. But he shall be as one that is born in the land. However, no uncircumcised person shall eat of it. The same law shall apply to him that is a native, and to the stranger who journeys among you." So all the children of Israel did it. They did just as the Lord commanded Moses and Aaron. In that same day, the Lord brought the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt by their hosts. Interesting. So that Exodus 12 really goes into the technicalities of Passover. Again, this is the modern English version of the Bible. And tomorrow we will go into Exodus 13. But it's very interesting that there was so much importance put upon the preparation of the food, the bread being unleavened, uh, just a lot of things. A lot of things were very technical when it came to the formation of the religion that the Hebrews were following at that time. And it's important to note that all of these messages from God were delivered through Moses and Aaron. Makes me wonder which between the two, Moses and Aaron, was the more technical, was the more detail oriented about how things had to be done. Just a lot of things to think about. But thank you, everyone, for joining me today on today's reading and commentary of the Bible. I'll talk to you again tomorrow. Have a great afternoon or evening, wherever it is that you are. Bye-bye.